With our cylinder on, we can now put in our dowels. Hopefully. Followed by our new head gasket. Make sure that surfaces are cleaned, like always. And then our awesome cylinder head. On the dowels like so. Our kit comes with a new cam. Wipe it down. Apply oil to the journals. Place the cam in. We've got our original parts laid out from our stock XR100 engine. We're going to be reusing the followers, follower pins, and cam bridge. You'll notice this flat edge here goes toward the cam gear. The longer pin goes toward the intake side, shorter pin goes toward the exhaust side. So we're going to assemble we want to make sure this half moon shape opens up toward this opening here. So you can see through it just like that. All set, ready to install in the head.
And action.
So we've got our cam chain fished through there. Went ahead and marked on this flywheel where T is for TDC. We want to make sure that our piston with this mark is at the T for TDC. So now we can add a little bit of oil to our cam journals here. And then place our cam bridge while keeping that cam chain up and out of the way. Getting that set down on the dowels, which we can follow up with our original washers and nuts. The cam lobes are still pointing down. So there's no load on the rockers or valves at this time. Once we have these seated, step 1 is going to be 7 foot-pounds. Step 2 is going to be 14. It's always a good idea to make sure that your cam spins freely. And we've got one rocker that's a little loose, one that's a little tight. So we're going to go ahead and back off the lash on both of these. Now we've got free play in our cam and rockers. We can go ahead and continue to setting the cam timing, which we'll do next. While keeping tension on the cam chain above, put the flywheel on without the nut and turn it to line up the T line that I have highlighted here in black with the indicator in the case. That puts our piston at top dead center so we can continue our cam timing up above.
Action.
With our flywheel and piston at TDC, we have our cam sprocket with a little dot here that points up. The bolts will be horizontal, and in our case, shift up is even spelled out on the camshaft to be read properly from this orientation. Again, our lobes are down. I'm going to take this gear and carefully slide it into place, just like so. You may need to get some help to align, just like so. So we've got our flywheel at TDC. Maybe a little difficult to tell in this orientation, but our dot is pointing straight up. That aligns with down the center of everything. Now we just need to get these bolts in here. How do we do that when this cylinder head is in the way? Well, we can actually rotate the assembly with the cam. Just enough to get one of our cam bolts in with Loctite already applied. May need to be a little bit more. You can use a small screwdriver to get alignment with the threaded hole. Before carefully installing cam bolts. So we'll go ahead and get these installed and torqued up and be ready for the next step. With our bolts installed, we can verify that our flywheel is still at TDC, our dot is pointing up, we're not off a tooth at all. We're ready to go ahead and move it to one side where we can torque these cam bolts to 10 foot-pounds. that completes cam, valves, valve train cam timing. Up next, we'll put in the chain tensioner adjuster, which we will leave loose, set our lash, and cam cover.
And action.
With our camshaft still at TDC and our lobes pointing down, we can go ahead and set our intake and exhaust lash. Follow the recommendations from the camshaft you have selected. In our case, it is 2/1000 of an inch or 0.051 millimeter. So we're going to slide that in. Just low tension. We're turning that nut by hand. You want to make sure that you still have a little bit of movement there. We're going to do the same on the exhaust side. When all is said and done, we're going to torque that nut according to spec. However, what I like to do, put our feeler blade back in. Sometimes when you tighten this nut, your adjuster will change. So I'll take a box wrench, hold that in place while I snug it down. I'll do that on both sides and then follow it up with the actual torque spec.
Action.
With our valve lash set, we can go ahead and install this eccentric into our cam chain tensioner. And this is something that we're going to leave loose until the engine is running. With our locking plate, we also have our locking bolt for cam chain tension. And again, we leave both of these loose until the engine is running. The only thing left to do up here is install our cam cover. Up next, we're going to do our ignition system behind the flywheel. Then we are that much closer to firing this thing up.